Is the U.S. military actually taking a proactive approach to make things better for once? Maybe, and that's because the quality of life of service members has been under fire since we've talked about previously, where we've said base housing has been under fire. If you guys did not watch Angry Cops video about that, where people were actually getting bonuses for falsifying information of fixing problems faster, but really they were just cooking the books, or the fact that we've seen military barracks being infested with mold, rats, fungus, whatever you want to name it, where it seemed like it was just not livable conditions. But now the Navy has taken their first step forward to try and make this better, or is it the first step? We'll see right here. So Navy Housing introduces the Unaccompanied Housing Bill of Rights and Responsibilities. It says the Navy is committed to providing the high quality accommodations to all sailors, especially those residing in UH, said Steve Drum. It says the Bill of Rights and Responsibilities makes it clear what guarantees we promise UH residents while establishing what their obligations are for maintaining their housing. These barracks are their homes, and they are expected to maintain cleanliness and report maintenance issues in a timely manner, which can be done quickly and conveniently by utilizing our new QR code maintenance and reporting process. To give you guys some context, yes, there may be some new, fast, fancy way of doing this, but essentially, you had base housing, which a lot of times was going to require people to use third-party contracts, where a lot of times in the barracks, it could be a barracks manager, which may be an E5, or sometimes I would see culinary specialists as a shore-duty option running some of the barracks. So, because this is really going to possibly change the culture of what we're going to see as you read through these rights and responsibilities. The resident rights for government-controlled unaccompanied housing, as I talked about, we said base housing, but this is specifically to unaccompanied. It says the right to reside in a community that is safe, secure, and meets applicable health and environmental standards with well-maintained common areas and amenities. If you have never lived over in San Diego, I can tell you how many cars I saw that were put up on blocks and things like that. I don't know why they didn't have some kind of, cameras to show who was putting, these cars on blocks and stealing rims and tires and car parts and things like that. But I hope there's going to be some emphasis on security as far as putting cameras and things like that, but not for the sake of trying to just burn junior sailors. But I did notice that. The right to reside in a housing unit that has working fixtures, appliances, and utilities. I'm hoping to God this includes air conditioning, heat, and also on top of that, the fridge, the stove, the microwave, all these basic things that most people, for the people that are leading, would expect for them to work in their own house. And I always say this, if this was something where that could be taken to court in a civilian setting, where if this was not met, that these things worked in a lease, they should have the same hold-up standard that should be in the military. It says the right to verify the condition and cleanliness of the assigned room, shared space if applicable, and the furnishings provided during check-in and check-out inspections. The issue I see with this is there are a lot of junior people that aren't going to really understanding of this right, where they are sitting here going to be scared. I'm little Timmy. I'm scared to say this barracks room is too dirty. So really a lot of people that are not going to be that forthcoming, I think will probably get away with this, even though they have the right to it. I think this is going to be upon leadership to be like, let me look at this barracks room before Timmy gets into it, because if he doesn't know this, I can reject it for him or make sure he knows he can say, I deserve better. The right to clearly defined regulations regarding occupancy of UH and use of common areas and amenities. Okay, nobody really uses common areas that I've ever seen, but okay. It says the right to report inadequate housing standards or deficits in habitability of the housing unit to the UH Staff Housing Management Office and the chain of command without fear of reprisal, retaliation, decrease of services, or increased obligations as a resident, interference with the right to privacy or harassment as a resident, refusal to honor the terms of occupancy, or interference with the career of the resident. Meaning they cannot punish you, give you bad evaluations if you say none of these things are good. However, what I'm not seeing here is if I showed up on a certain day and say all the barracks rooms are, filled to the brim, for example, what happens if I refuse it? Are you going to put me in the lodge? Are you going to put me in some kind of Navy Gateway Inn and Suites? what happens if there is not that controlled? Is there funding to put people in adequate housing? That is a big question I have from these rights and responsibilities. Now, they say the resident will take pride in ownership. They're going to clean it. Says that they're going to maintain the living standards in accordance with the Welcome Board Handbook, that they're going to allow access to people inspecting your room, the responsibility to report issues if there is an issue, and the responsibility to provide a minimum 30-day notification prior to move out and correct any discrepancies identified during the pre-termination inspection prior to the final checkout inspection. Now, I do want to commend leadership for finally looking at this, because how many years have people said, do you want to retain sailors? This is one of the key ways. If you want Jimmy from Iowa to recruit his friends that are probably a year or two younger than him to want to come in, he's got to say, dude, I live in a dope barracks. This is awesome. I have my own spot, my place. I go to work. I work out. I got this X, Y, and Z. You have to make that incentive to make people want to talk properly about maybe staying in the military, maybe saying the quality of life isn't bad. And I've personally seen all across the board between horrendous to amazing. I'm calling you out, Pacific Beacon, San Diego, but that is here nor there. And that is because I come across this document here from 19th of May, 2022, only about a year ago, less than a year ago now, that gives specific criteria for Navy and Marine Corps unaccompanied housing. And just like you heard in those Bill of Rights, it says, they talk about improving quality of life, including providing our unaccompanied military personnel with adequate, comfortable housing is a major goal for the Navy and Marine Corps as a critical element in attracting and retaining high caliber personnel. Thus, the minimum standards set forth in this document maintain the focus of providing housing for a comfortable living environment. Now, if you look at this, it goes into the planning, what the barracks would look like, the facility functions. It looks like what deems what is required for recruit, training necessity, mission essential, permanent party, right? It talks about all these things. It goes over to include the way that the site design should be, the parking, the access, the bus route, the utility quarters, trash dumpsters, planning. I mean, it talks about interior design of it, the paint. I mean, this document breaks down the nitty gritty of everything you would ever expect that a barracks room could have. Just to give an example, they even have floor plans here, for example, right? Like, I can't be crazy that this document is 117 pages of detailed meat and potatoes. And I only show you this document, which I will link down below, that a lot of you guys should take a gander at, because this kind of already covers what I would say the top military brass have said they would do only a year ago. So what has changed? What have we seen progress-wise since then? I'd love for top leadership to talk about those goals and how they've been accomplished by producing this document, and have they actually done an audit of facilities to say that this is something that has been applied and actually been in use. I would love to see that. But, if you guys work in this area or you have some kind of information you want to share about this, please let me know down in the comments below. Do you think this is enough? And do you think anything's actually going to happen? And do you think this will have any effect on retention as far as moving forward and kind of the desperate grasp that the Navy has had to try and bring people into the service? Let me know down in the comments below. If you guys do like topics I cover here, hit me up over on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, or down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.